This is so much fun, by the way.
Yeah.
You should be on this side of the camera more often.
No, please God, no. That is where I belong. Behind the camera.
Hey guys! So today's interview is really cool. We're hitting close to home with this one. Beside me is one of my dearest friends, Leah Rifkin, who is also the co-producer, videographer, and editor of Q&A with Lady K. Except today, she's jumped onto my side of the camera and is here to promote her new book, Beyond the Director's Chair.
Yes. Don't like being on this side of the camera, but it's okay. I'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Well, Leah, first and foremost, I want to say how proud I am of you.
Thank you.
Not many people out there can say that they are a published author at 25 years old.
Yeah, I guess not. So yeah, it's a pretty big accomplishment.
It's a huge accomplishment,
Yeah.
and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
The book is amazing. So
Thank you.
Just want to say that. Now, how would you describe Beyond the Director's Chair?
Well, Beyond the Director's Chair is a book for aspiring directors to learn about the leadership strategies or qualities that they should have as a director.
Now, each chapter focuses on one leadership success strategy.
Yes.
10 chapters, 10 strategies.
10.
How did you choose which strategies to include?
So I really just kind of started brainstorming about different topics or ideas, I guess, that have to do with leadership, and then went from there. So it was a bit of a process. Like, I kind of had a couple that I knew right off the bat I would do. Like, I think it was Motivate and Inspire was a pretty obvious one to me, but I didn't know where it would be placed, right? I didn't know the order, so it took me a bit of time to figure that out. But then once I had the sort of blueprint of my chapters, then it was easier to write.
So the order, did you put them in a specific order then?
Yeah. Like, some of them in the middle are not, like, particularly it doesn't really matter, but I definitely started and ended with the ones that made the most sense. So, like, Know Thyself is the first chapter, which makes sense because I refer to it in the other chapters, so it makes sense to have it earlier. And then there's others that it doesn't really matter the placement, but I kind of did it in, like, I figured out a flow that seemed to feel right. I guess it was more of a gut instinct thing. Like, I was like, oh, that feels right. Like, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
But I knew it was more the first and last chapter that I had to, kind of the bookends almost.
Yeah.
That I had to get, like, right the first time.
And similarly, each chapter features an interview with a well-known director.
That is correct.
So how did you choose which director would align with which strategy?
The way I did it was I reached out to directors and I said, okay, these are the chapters of my book. I didn't want to give too much detail. I just kind of gave the names of the chapters and said, which one speaks to you? Like, because I don't want to sort of force them into, like, you know, pigeonhole them into something that they don't want to.
Hey, look, this is your chapter.
Exactly.
Write about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you know about it or not.
Right. But the only thing is, once it got to the end, like when I only had 1 or 2 chapters left, I was like, well, these are the last 2 chapters that I need interviews for, so which one of these do you want, or do either of these work for you? And luckily it worked out. But yeah, when I was sort of starting out, I kind of just gave them the range to pick whatever worked for them, because I didn't want to like force them into something they didn't want to write about. So yeah. And
what was the most surprising or interesting thing you learned, and from which director?
Oh God. She's putting me on the spot, as she does many of people she interviews. I understand how those people feel now. The one thing I say overall for all of them was that it's still a learning curve. Like, as much experience as you get, you work on these, like, crazy big budget things, massive TV shows or films, you still are learning, and it's never like a process that's ever over as a leader, right? Like, you can always get better. So that was reassuring to me.
What inspired you to create this book?
I knew I wanted to write about something in the entertainment industry. I wanted to have some sort of unique aspect of the book, right? So I had to, do some research, and I looked at with books are out there about directing specifically. A lot of them are interviews with, big, huge, famous directors like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and a whole bunch of others. And then there's ones that are like technical books. So there's one that I think everyone will know. It's called Shot by Shot, and it's like more of a technical book for directing. But there weren't any, I realized, that were about leadership. So I figured, that's kind of an important thing. Like, if you're at that level, managing a shit ton of people and, like, a lot of detail, and dealing with the actors and creating shot lists and doing all that, that's a lot to handle. And if there's no book out there, nothing, no resource out there for like aspiring directors, which I once was when I was in high school, what are they supposed to do? Just, I mean, I guess learn by doing, but it's nice to have a little bit of reassurance or some sort of guide, something to refer back to say, okay, well, I don't know what to do, maybe this will help me. So that was the gap. I found the gap in the market, basically, of what wasn't out there, or what at least I couldn't find anything. And that kind of gave me the, you know, the kind of, okay, this is what I have to write about, because there's nothing out there.
How long was the process from inspiration to publication?
It's about 2 years. Wow. So there's a reason for that, though. There were 2 reasons why that was the case. Main reason was that I didn't feel ready at the beginning to write the whole thing. Like, I started the process of writing it, and then I got stuck for a really long time because I didn't know why at first, and then I realized, you know what, I just confronted the fact that I don't really have enough directing experience, like a variety, to be able to draw from different things, right? Like, because I'm giving examples in each of the chapters, and I wanted to have enough that I could at least give some variety across the board. So I took some time to just do more directing. That kind of helped me gain the confidence to feel ready to be able to sort of fully expand on all the ideas I wrote. The second reason was I interviewed 10 directors, actually 11, because the last chapter has a bonus interview. So finding the directors to interview took time.
Right.
Because, you know, they're working, they're busy, TV schedules, film schedules, we all know directors out there, they're freaking crazy. So I had to just kind of be patient and keep asking and following up with people, and you know, asking people for interviews, she knows.
I know the process.
She knows.
What were the greatest challenges you faced?
Well, anyone who's written a book knows that it's not a walk in the park, necessarily. For my parts, I think I always felt like, okay, what else can I add? Like, I always had that feeling of like, oh, this doesn't feel done. You know, like, I feel like I can add more to this chapter, and I tried to also keep the chapters pretty even in terms of length. So, like, at one point, there was, like, 2 or 3 pages for one chapter, and then, like, 8 pages for another. I'm like, that's super off. I can't do that. No. So I had to add for the one chapter, and then I'm like, do I take out stuff from that chapter? So it just became, like, a balancing act on what to include where. So that probably was a challenge, because the biggest challenge, I would say, is structuring it and figuring all that out.
What are you most proud of from your book?
The fact that I wrote a book.
In your opinion, what makes a strong director?
Someone who's confident in who they are, and because of that can make, you know, informed and powerful decisions that have a positive effect on whether it's the story, the cast, crew, whatever. Someone who respects everybody equally. Respect is a huge thing. I think any director who disrespects people on set, doesn't matter what the reason is, it's just not right. No. Like, it's just, you know, everyone's trying to do a job. Yeah. And even if they're not doing it well, there's plenty other ways to handle that than disrespecting someone. Yeah. And also, just being kind to people. Like, people screw up, people do things, say things. Perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's just, you know, it doesn't help anyone to be, like, upset or angry and yeah, there's days, we all have our bad days. Yeah. But I mentioned this in the book, but it's how you recover from those things that defines who you are. So even if you do, like, snap and yell at someone or do something you shouldn't do as a leader, it's how you recover from that, you know, that defines it. Yeah. And that's where knowing yourself becomes important, because when you recognize, oh, shit, I shouldn't have said that, or shouldn't have done that, you can easily figure out a solution rather than being like, well, I don't care. Yes. You know? So, yeah, those are, I'd say, the main things.
Now, you were in LA a couple of weeks ago at the Beverly Hills Film Festival. Yeah. Talk to me about your experience there.
Well, it was hot. Okay, no, that's like a really bad answer. I will be honest here that I wasn't there for the entirety of the festival. Like, they had several days, and I often wasn't there for, like, the majority of the day because I was running around doing other things in LA, because I had set up, like, meetings with people while I was there. So from what I did go to, like, I think the main thing that I really liked was meeting different people, because you don't always get those opportunities when you're, like, sort of stuck in your little bubble of Toronto all the time, so, yeah.
And you were able to reconnect with Norman Buckley. who was one of the directors that you interviewed for your book.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was really nice. He's super nice. Like, I knew he would be nice just from even reading his responses and like sort of exchanging emails and things like that, but super nice guy. It was really nice to kind of meet in person, give him the copy of my book signed, which was really cool, and because I didn't get to do that with some of the others, I had to like mail it to them, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it was nice
to physically
hand it to someone.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And I learned, you know, he was talking about things he's working on, things I'm working on, and yeah, it was really nice to meet with him.
For those of you who don't know, Leah has her own production company. So what is in store for Scarlet Lens? What's next?
Lots. First of all, I have season 3 of Out of Frame, which I'm nearing the end of development for that. So hopefully into production this summer. And then I have Revolution 10, why I was at the festival in the first place in LA. So that's an interactive feature film, and there's some interesting possibilities there. Had some phone meetings with some peeps. We'll see. So that's getting financed, basically, is the next step for that. And I have a few TV shows, actually, that I've, both on the unscripted and scripted side, that I'm getting out there, and just building the company, really. Just starting to kind of build its legs so it can walk on its own. Essentially, is what a goal for any CEO is to have the company have its own legs, and that you can basically just be the visionary and grow the company, right? So that's kind of where I'm at right now, is getting films and TV shows, bigger budget things made. Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best, Leah.
Well, thanks.
Thank you so much for hopping onto this side of the camera.
Never again.
Loved having you
I love
here.
sitting with you, Katie, but not my comfort zone at all.
Well, I loved it.
Okay,
so there you go. Honestly, if you haven't, read this book. It is wonderful. It's insightful. It's just pure entertaining, too.
And the cover's really velvety,
yes,
so it feels nice to hold.
It feels nice in your hands, yes. And I'm just, again, like, I'm so proud of you. I think it's awesome that you have accomplished this, and your name is right there.
I put her in the book.
Oh, yes. Check out that page.
She's awesome, obviously.
Now you're just
What's the page?
kind.
What's the page? Did you
memorize
memorize
it? Memorize it, but I haven't.
Oh, no, wait, I wrote it.
104.
104.
104.
Katie's mentioned in the book.
104.
So that's another reason to buy it.
Yes.
Because Katie's awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
I have my signed copy. Where's yours?
Get it now.
Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, like it. If you want more interviews, subscribe. And don't forget, you can follow me on social media.